Hey everyone, today we're taking a look at the Revoltech Amazing Yamaguchi Batman Beyond. I was a big fan of the Batman Beyond cartoon as a kid, so I'm pretty excited for this one. Here's a look at the package. I still think the newer Revoltech Amazing Yamaguchi packaging is a bit sterile, but it's fine. No window, but there is a big picture of the figure on the front, along with some Batman Beyond, Batman and DC logos. Here's a picture of the figure on the side. Some more pictures on this side. And photos of the figure and all the accessories on the back. This one also has like a foil sticker on here. I don't think the previous Revoltech figures had that, so maybe that's a new thing they're doing. I'm not sure. Here he is out of the package, and as you can tell, this is a bit more of a more stylized version of Batman Beyond. Not the version we see in the show. I believe this is from a comic book. I'm not familiar with it, but I think it makes sense why Revoltech would have gone with this look instead of the show look, since they tend to go with a more stylized look, and this allows them to put more details into the figure. And speaking of those details, there's lots of panels and lines to help break up this would otherwise be just a black and red figure. So I do like it in that regard. On the head there's some nice panel lining. There is a little cap on the back of the head here that moves around when you articulate it, and that helps cover up the gap and adds a bit more detail there. I don't know if I love the way this little red mark comes up off of the eyes. I think it's accurate to this version of it. It does add a fun little pop of color up on the ears. But I guess I'm a little undecided on how I feel about that. We can see a mouth kind of sculpted in there. It looks more like a kind of like a helmeted look, which I think makes sense. Batman Beyond suit doesn't really make sense in general, with the like open mouth that just conforms to his lips. Down at the torso, we've got a lot more red here. Some paneling on the bat symbol there. It is going to be broken up some as you articulate it, just because that's the nature of articulation, and I think that's fine. Some red hits on the shoulders and coming down the arms. I do think it looks cool coming down the arms like that, and this kind of squiggly pattern that leads down the legs. But the suit looks very good. I like all the little tiny details there. I'm remembering now, one of my first cosplay armor I did was actually Batman Beyond. We'll throw a picture up here. It wasn't very good. Back looks really nice, lots of small details there. Some of these are going to get lost if you just put this in the back of a dark shelf, but I think it's cool that they're there. That's just the nature of black figures, though. The spikies on the forearms look nice. They're kind of pointy, not so pointy that I think you're going to get hurt on it. They are a bit of a stiff plastic, so I think this front one in particular has the potential to break if you're not, like if you're getting super rowdy with it, or it falls off a shelf at the right angle, so be careful with that. I would have liked a bit of a softer plastic for that. The belt looks very good. I have seen some people have issues with the belt riding up a lot on theirs. Mine seems to be staying down pretty well so far. We'll see if that continues as I pose it and whatnot. But a very nice metallic red button on the front, and then the white and silver is painted really well around it. There's a little DC logo on the back there. And then down at the legs, I like how this red line comes like down the abs and then follows the lines down the legs. I think that's pretty cool. And sometimes amazing Yamaguchi figures will have difficulty standing with the legs straight up and down and getting all the lines lined up, but this one does a pretty good job at that. So I like that. Some like little vent paneling there, that looks pretty cool. And then some more red down on the boots and the bottom of the boots. A little bit of sculpt work there as well, and some peg holes. The back of the legs are mostly black, but they do have sculpted detail, which looks nice. So while I maybe would have preferred a classic cartoon look for Batman Beyond, I do really enjoy this, and I'm liking it a lot more in person than I thought I would from looking at the promo pictures. He does have like a little bit of the Revoltech disjointedness to him. It might take a little bit of work to get him looking nice standing there in a neutral pose. I don't think this is a great neutral pose. I just kind of stood him up there. But I think the shoulders have a bit of mass to them, so it kind of hides the joint, and it helps that he's all black with red accents, so the red accents kind of draw your eyes away from where the joints would be anyway. So I think the joints look pretty good here. They're hidden rather well, and looking at it straight on, you don't see like a big bubble or round spot. It just kind of flows nicely there. Same with the elbows. I don't think those look super round and bubbly like sometimes they can tend to do. All these are things that don't particularly bother me because I like Revoltech figures, but I always just want to note that because I know some people don't love the aesthetics of the Revoltech figures. So for accessories, he'll come with some additional hands. These splayed open hands. Claw hands that have silver on the nails. I like that. Makes it seem like he has like claws that pop out. It's pretty cool. These like karate chop or diving hands with just like the flat palm and the thumb tucked. And then these hands that look kind of like trigger finger hands, but are more so for gripping the batarangs. He'll come with 2 of these batarangs. The red on these is more metallic than on the body. The body's just kind of like a gloss red, and I guess the metallic doesn't even really match the belt. But it still looks nice. Kind of weird that the reds are a little bit different, but not a huge deal for me. And he does hold it in these trigger finger looking hands pretty well. It's a little bit loose, but manageable. And there's what the little grip section of that looks like. He'll come with 1 alternate head, and when you swap the head, you'll need to swap the neck piece as well. It will come apart just in the head, and it's just kind of a floaty piece. I think the way it goes back is that these sculpted jaggy sections on the bottom there go towards the bottom of the neck. So the smooth section will put into the head like this. Hopefully that makes sense. And then that pops on pretty easily. And this head is more like a open mouth, grimacing face. I think it looks pretty good. I might end up having this displayed on him more just because it highlights the mouth a bit more. He'll also come with a pair of wings. These are on a ball hinge or Revoltech hinge, and they also have a hinge in the center. But those will plug into these holes on the back here. And the holes are sculpted in such a way that it looks like it could just be like a little vent port for the suit, even when you don't have the wings plugged in there. So I think they did a pretty good job with that. And those plug in pretty easily. And they have like a nice hexagonal pattern on them that makes them look a bit futuristic. So that's pretty cool. A little bit of a black accent there and some more of those sculpted details throughout the top. And then with the hinge, You can get them wrapped around him or posed in different positions. I thought I wouldn't like the hinge since it kind of has like a sharp angle it'll bend the wing at, but in practice using them, I think they seem pretty good. They'll come with some little jet effects that go in his boots. And these are on the Revoltech ball hinges. And those are painted nicely. They're nice and translucent at the bottom and then have some yellow airbrushing at the top that goes into the yellow peg. So I think those look really good. It's a good effect. And to go with those, you'll have the standard Revoltech display stand. I always love that they include a display stand. I usually have to tighten the screws on these out of the package though. Not a big deal. And there is a little adapter here that plugs into the top. That'll go in the peg hole on the butt. Alternatively, you could use this little clampy hand. I prefer the peg hole in the figure when possible, especially now that they include this little adapter. It makes it a lot more sturdy than just plugging the figure directly into the stand at the top here. I've had a couple of Revoltech stands break off at the top here, so I haven't had any issues with the ones with the little adapters. And finally, a couple extra little ball hinges, a yellow one and a black one, just in case you break anything. For articulation, there's a double ball peg at the top of the neck here, and then another ball peg at the bottom of the neck. So with that, he can look up very far for those flight poses. Very happy with that. And then look down pretty well. Also side to side tilt on both of those joints, so lots of range there. And you can get all those little nuanced poses with the double ball pegs. At the shoulders, these are ball hinges that come out to a ball peg, so you can get that kind of weird disjointed look. But that'll let the shoulders go up better than horizontal. Full rotation on those, of course. Swivel at the shoulder on that little ball peg, and then swivel at the bicep. It's cut at a weird angle like the Saitama figure was, so I don't love that. It's fine, I guess. I think for this one, I would prefer to just use the swivel at the elbow so it doesn't break up the sculpt though. You do get swivel at the elbow. It's a single joint, just a big Revoltech ball hinge. The hand fell off. But does get very good range and doesn't look too gappy. At the hand, there are more ball hinges. No issues there, you should be getting all the range. There is a butterfly joint that will bring the arms back pretty far until these little shoulder blade ports are touching basically. And then forward pretty far as well. It does break up that bat symbol on the front, but that kind of can't be avoided. There's a ball peg at the diaphragm and then one at the waist. So just at the diaphragm, he doesn't move back super far because the sculpt kind of clashes into the back here. But he can bend forward pretty well. And then with the waist joint, he can bend back a decent amount and forward. Very well. So I'm happy with that. And then on both those joints, some side to side tilt and rotation. That hand's pretty loose on the wrist, unfortunately. This belt is like a semi-floaty piece. It's connected on the back, but not on the front. The legs, if you just bring them out to the side, will get about 45 degrees, but then like most Revoltechs, if you rotate that hip forward, then you can get full splits. The leg will kick forward very far. Back just a little bit. The butt diaper area is also kind of floaty and semi-flexible, so it'll scooch out the way. Well, you can actually get the leg back, going back pretty far there. It is at a bit of an angle, but it does have the range. We saw the thigh, it does rotate at an angle, but you can also rotate at the hip a little bit, a little more difficult since it's stiffer than the thigh, so this will want to wiggle on you first. Single jointed knees, but they get all the range you would need. They do have a bit of a kneecap sculpted there. I think it works for this Batman Beyond armor. Some of the figures it doesn't look so great on, but I think it's alright here. There's a ball hinge. Maybe it's a ball. No, it's a ball hinge at the shin here, so you get swivel at the shin and it can hinge forward and back a bit to kind of hyperextend the leg. And at the feet, there's a floaty piece for the ankle, and the foot will go back this much, forward this much. There is an ankle rocker and a toe hinge. The toe hinge is pretty stiff and it's sculpted well. It's nice and rounded. So I think that'll be pretty useful. You can also bend it downward, but then the red does show through the top there. So very good range on this one. For sizing comparisons, Batman Beyond is standing at about 6 inches tall to the top of the head, a little closer to 6.5 to the top of his ears. I guess I don't really have that many Batman figures to compare him to, and the ones I do have are, for the most part, packed up. But here's a Revoltech One Punch Man and the InArt Batman. Here he is with a Mess Toys Symbiote Spider-Man and Mafex Spider-Man. Since splicers exist in Batman Beyond, here is the Revoltech Miracle and a Savage Crucible Lizard. And here he is with an SH Figuarts Naruto and Marvel Legends X-Men 97 Nightcrawler. So overall, I like him a lot more than I expected. When the promo shots initially came out, I thought I would be a bit disappointed because it's not the Batman Beyond I know from my childhood. But getting it in hand and seeing how the extra panel lines add a bit of depth to all the black and just posing it around, I'm just having a lot of fun with this one. A lot of times what determines what a great figure for me is if I have it on my desk and just want to pick it up and pose it throughout the day. And I feel like this is one of those figures that I'll just like to fiddle with through the day and just feels nice to play with. So if you like Batman Beyond, I'd recommend this one for sure. I think it's a very good one. Probably one of my favorite Revoltech figures. And I don't think you'll be disappointed if you get it. So let me know if you'll be picking up this figure or what your thoughts on it are in the comments. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you for watching. I hope you have a great day. Remember to be kind to yourself and others, and I'll see you next time.